It's funny, like if you break a bone, an x-ray shows the jagged line, and the doctor just points at it and says, there it is.
Right. It's right there on the screen.
Exactly. And we love that, don't we? I mean, you and I, we like our problems to be visible, neatly categorized and fixable with like a cast or a pill.
Yeah, a clear-cut solution.
But what happens when the deepest pain you feel, I'm talking about your existential anxiety, or, that identity crisis, that creeping sense of being completely anchored to things that are just decaying? What happens when that doesn't show up on a scan?
Well, what do you do when the disease isn't actually in your physical body at all?
Right. And that is exactly what we are getting into today on this deep dive, because you have to fundamentally change the diagnostic tools.
You really do. You're no longer looking at a biological malfunction. You're looking at a profound, pervasive illusion of identity.
And to even begin to comprehend that, let alone cure it, you need a completely different architectural map of reality.
Which is a huge undertaking.
It is. So today we are taking you into that exact architecture. We're going to explore the eternal relationship between the individual soul and the Supreme Lord. We're mapping out who you actually are versus, well, who you think you are.
And the sources we have for this are just incredible.
Oh, they're rigorous. We're drawing from excerpts of the masterful commentary, the purport by Srila Prabhupada on the ancient Vedic text, the Srimad Bhagavatam. Specifically, we're looking at verses 7.7.7 and 20.
Right. And alongside that, we also have a stack of supporting Vedic charts.
Yeah, and this really beautiful piece of lyrical poetry called The Gold in the Stone to continually help visualize the physics of consciousness.
What's really fascinating here is that Srila Prabhupada isn't just offering like a vague philosophical musing.
No, not at all.
He's presenting a highly technical diagnosis of a universal human condition. And then he provides the exact analytical process you need to break free from the material world.
And discover your true, inexhaustible spiritual scale, right. But to get to that scale, we really have to start at the root of the illness.
The diagnosis itself.
Yeah. The texts call this core disease ahan mameti. It's this deeply ingrained illusion of I and mine.
And the sources actually describe it as a literal knot in the heart.
A knot.
Yeah. A knot tied by material attractions. They point to the fundamental biological and psychological pull between male and female as like the baseline principle of material existence.
Oh, wow.
And from that intense attraction, this cascading effect happens. We start mistakenly anchoring our entire identity to these temporary constructs.
Right. We start declaring things.
Exactly. We say, I am this body. This is my home, my wealth, my family, my legacy.
Okay, well, let's unpack this for a second, because if I take that to its logical conclusion, it sounds, well, frankly, it sounds a bit alarming.
How so?
Like, if I strip away my body, my family, my house, my bank account, and even, I don't know, my shifting thoughts, what is actually left?
You feel like there'd be nothing there?
Yeah. It feels like if I untie that knot, I'm just going to fall into this terrifying, featureless void.
Well, and that is the ultimate fear of the material mind, right there. But it represents a really fundamental misunderstanding of what spirit actually is.
Okay, so spirit isn't just an empty vacuum.
Not at all. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the great devotee Prahlada Maharaja actually outlines the 12 transcendental symptoms.
Yeah, Manalakanai, right.
Yes, he uses these 12 symptoms to define the precise nature of the soul. It's essentially a detailed checklist of your true identity.
I love a good checklist.
Right. And the very first symptom is that the soul is nitya and avya, meaning permanent and inexhaustible.
Okay, permanent makes sense in opposition to the body, because the poetry in our sources highlights the physical body undergoing 6 distinct changes.
Right, the cycle it goes through.
Yeah, it lists them out. Birth, growth, maintenance, reproduction, dwindling, and finally death.
Which means the physical body is basically a machine in a constant state of decay.
Right, it's always breaking down.
But the soul, however, doesn't undergo a single one of those 6 changes. Its potency never, ever diminishes.
That's a wild shift in perspective.
It gets deeper. That leads to another crucial symptom. The soul is svadak. That translates to self-illuminated.
Okay, I need to push back on self-illuminated.
Go for it.
In a physical sense, right, if I turn off the lights in my house, I can't see anything. My eyes absolutely require an external light source to function. So how does self-illumination actually work for the soul?
Well, think about being in a pitch black room.
Okay, I'm in a dark room.
Your physical eyes are completely useless, right? You
Right.
literally cannot see your hand in front of your face.
Yeah, completely blind.
But you are still entirely aware that you exist. You are totally conscious of your own presence in that dark room.
Oh. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right. That underlying awareness doesn't require a light bulb. It doesn't need the sun.
Hmm?
The soul generates its own internal light of consciousness.
It's the actual seer.
Exactly. It's operating behind the mechanical lens of your physical eyes.
Wow, that reframes consciousness completely. Like it's not a byproduct of the brain's electricity. It is the power source itself.
You've got it. And the sources pair that with another fascinating symptom, asaga, which means unattached.
Unattached. The text uses an analogy for this that I thought made it really clear, the oil and water analogy.
It's a perfect visual. You can take a bottle of oil and water and shake it up with immense force.
Just shake it violently.
Yeah, and they might look blended for a second, right? But they never actually mix at a molecular level.
They always separate.
Always. And the soul resides inside this physical body, surrounded by what the sources call the 24 elements of the material machine.
Which includes, like, the basic stuff, right? Earth, water, fire.
Right. But also the subtle elements, like the mind and the intelligence.
The mind is considered material.
Yes. Yet our actual spiritual identity never truly fuses with any of them. Like the oil and water, we remain completely distinct.
But, okay, knowing we are distinct from the material body creates a massive practical problem for me.
What's the problem?
The illusion feels incredibly real. Like when I'm stressed at work or I'm in physical pain, I do not feel like oil floating peacefully on water.
You feel totally absorbed in it.
Completely consumed by the suffering. So how do we practically separate the two in real time? How does a student of this philosophy actually do that?
This is where the text introduces the analogy of the expert geologist, the Himakara.
Oh, this was such a cool concept in the reading.
Right. To an untrained eye, a piece of gold ore just looks like a heavy, dirty rock. You'd probably kick it out of the way.
Yeah, just another rock on the trail.
But the expert geologist knows the pure gold is hidden inside.
Yeah.
And they use rigorous chemical analysis to actively extract it from the dirt.
Okay.
In the exact same way, the spiritual seeker has to use analytical study to isolate the spirit's soul from the physical body.
Wait, okay. The geologist uses a physical chemical tool like acid or a centrifuge to extract the gold. What is the spiritual equivalent of a chemical tool? I mean, I can't put my consciousness in a beaker.
No, you can't. The spiritual tool is an active filtering process called neti. Neti?
Neti.
Yeah, which translates to not this, not this. It is a radical cognitive override.
Okay, so let's translate this into a modern daily exercise for you listening right now. Instead of just trying to calm down when we're overwhelmed, say you are sitting in traffic completely consumed by anger.
A very relatable scenario.
Right. You don't just take a deep breath. You apply the neti filter.
You interrogate your reality.
Yes. You actively ask, am I this anger? No, not this. Am I the mind generating these stressful thoughts? No, not this.
Am I the physical tension in my shoulders?
Exactly. You systematically discard those 24 material elements until you are left with the undeniable fact, I am the eternal observer, I am the gold in the stone.
It is a profound moment-to-moment reconstruction of how you interact with reality. But, and this is crucial, it raises an important question.
Right.
Srila Prabhupada introduces a major epistemological pivot right here.
Okay, lay it on us.
You cannot successfully complete this neti extraction using only your own material mind.
Well, yeah, if my mind is part of the 24 material elements, and I'm trying to use my mind to realize my spiritual self, isn't that literally like trying to clean dirt with mud?
Precisely. The tool you are trying to dig with is fundamentally compromised.
Oh, wow. So you're just smearing mud around.
Exactly. The Upanishads state this very clearly. Vijantaramādhikena vijanyat. The smaller individual knower cannot fully decode itself simply by looking inward with a material lens.
Oh, so what's the alternative?
True self-realization requires an upward alignment. You have to look toward a superior knower to receive the revelation of who you are.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because once we accept that upward alignment and we isolate this individual gold particle, the text gets incredibly specific about the spatial physics of the soul.
It gives actual dimensions.
Yes, we are described as being atomic in size, literally 1/10,000th the size of the tip of a hair.
A nor a yanan.
It's a dimension almost beyond comprehension. We're incredibly tiny.
Extremely tiny. Yet, at that exact infinitesimal scale, we share the exact same qualities as the Supreme Lord.
Which just blew my mind.
We are exploring the concept of asincha beta abheda. This means simultaneous, inconceivable oneness and difference.
So we're qualitatively one, but quantitatively vastly different.
Exactly.
The sources use the ocean to explain this, which helps a lot. If you analyze a single drop of seawater in a lab, you're going to find the exact same chemical composition, the same salinity, the same minerals as the entire ocean.
The drop is the ocean in quality.
Right. Both the individual soul, the jiva, and the Supreme Lord, the Ishvara, are made of pure, eternal spiritual consciousness. The texts call this Sat Chit Ananda.
Eternity, knowledge, and bliss.
Eternity, knowledge, and bliss.
But the crucial distinction lies in the capacity of that consciousness.
Okay, bring that down.
You are the conscious knower of your local bodily field. For example, you know when your physical hand touches a hot stove.
Unfortunately, yes.
Right. But you do not know when my hand touches a hot stove.
Right, I'm limited to my own machine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Supreme Lord, however, is the super-knower. As the Bhagavad Gita establishes, he is simultaneously conscious of all bodies, everywhere, at all times.
See, this completely shatters that really popular mystical idea that ultimate enlightenment is just like dissolving your individual identity into a giant featureless blob of cosmic energy.
The void we talked about earlier.
Right. If we are atomic drops, we don't just evaporate.
No. And Srila Prabhupada really delivers a philosophical death blow to that concept of total impersonalism.
Yeah.
He brings in the Kaha Upanyad, specifically the verse Nitya Nityana Chaitanya Chetanam.
And what does that establish?
It establishes that there is an eternal plurality of consciousness.
Plurality, meaning more than one.
Exactly. There is one supreme leader, the chief singular eternal, who maintains an infinite number of plural subordinates. We eternally retain our individuality. We are the supported. He is the independent maintainer.
Let's look at the mechanics of that maintenance, though, because mathematically it defies logic.
It defies material logic, yes.
Yeah. Right. If the Supreme Lord is constantly expanding his energy to maintain infinite universes and billions of individual souls, doesn't he eventually run out of energy?
That's the assumption we make.
Yeah, like if I have a pie and I give you a slice, I inherently have less pie. That's just how stuff works.
But that is the limitation of material mathematics, where things inherently diminish when divided. In the spiritual dimension, the physics operate on the mathematics of the inexhaustible.
Inexhaustible math. I love that.
The sources point to a foundational equation in the Suri Ejopanyam. Puchasya Puryam Adaya Putyam Eva Vashate.
Which essentially means infinity minus infinity equals infinity.
Yes. It means the absolute whole is so perfectly complete that even if infinite complete units, entire cosmic manifestations, and countless souls emanate from him, he remains the complete, inexhaustible balance.
He never diminishes.
Never.
He can expand into billions of forms in every single heart, yet not lose a fraction of his original personal identity. That is staggering to think about.
It's massive.
And what really stands out as you read through Srila Prabhupada's commentary is that he anticipates the skepticism.
He knows people will doubt this.
Right. He doesn't just present this as a cool new theory. He builds this massive, impenetrable philosophical fortress to prove that this has been the established science of reality since the dawn of Vedic history.
He essentially acts as a master architect.
Mm-hmm.
He takes these foundational stones from various Upanishads to build a unified defense against any argument that tries to claim, that the universe is an accident or that God is just a void.
Yeah, like he brings in the Ittariya Upana to prove there is a conscious creator behind the cosmos. Matter didn't just accidentally organize itself into complex planetary systems. The text literally says he glanced and created.
And then he positions the Mundaka Upanyad as like the load-bearing wall of this fortress.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
It establishes the supreme as the total unmoving axis holding the macrocosm together. While we struggle to merely maintain our tiny, fragile physical bodies, the heavens, the earth, and the sky are entirely interwoven into his structure.
And the Taittiriya Upana seals the fortress by defining the absolute truth perfectly. Satya Janam Anantam.
Truth, pure knowledge, and infinity.
Truth, pure knowledge, and infinity. Srila Prabhupada is unifying these ancient texts with the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam to show that this framework of the atomic soul and the infinite light is just unbreakable.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, it exposes a really tragic irony in the world of philosophy and spiritual seeking.
Okay, what is it?
Well, if the logic is this unified and the historical texts are this consistent over thousands of years, why do so many highly intelligent seekers and philosophers still fall back into material illusion?
Yeah, that's a great point. If they do the neti process, right, and they realize they are the gold, Why do they end up right back in the dirt?
The texts diagnose this specific failure point as avishuddhabhutai,
Vishuddha Buddhaya.
which translates to unpolished or contaminated intelligence. It's actually a profound psychological trap.
A trap. How does it work?
So a person strips away the material elements and realizes their qualitative oneness with God. They experience this massive high of realizing, wow, I am pure, eternal spirit.
That sounds like a good thing.
It is,
Yeah.
initially, but because they lack the tracking mechanism to understand the quantitative difference, the scale between the atomic drop and the infinite ocean we talked about, they make a fatal egoistic error.
They think they are the ocean.
Exactly. They find themselves equal in quality, so they foolishly assume they're equal in quantity. They imagine they have literally become the supreme.
Wow.
But because they are actually tiny, atomic, and inherently dependent, they cannot sustain that infinite position. They have no real shelter up there.
It's like a single spark flying out of a fire, trying to convince itself that it is the entire blazing inferno.
That's exactly it.
And eventually, without the fuel of the source, it just fizzles out in the cold air.
And inevitably, they fall right back down into material entanglement. The ego trip of their own spiritual awakening loops them right back into the knot of I and mine.
Man, that's tragic.
It really is. To avoid this, true self-realization requires understanding the physics of detachment. The Supreme Lord supports the entire universe but remains completely uncontaminated by it. As the Gita says, all beings are in me, but I am not in them.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? I mean, after deconstructing the mind, analyzing the gold and the stone, mapping out the math of infinity, where does this journey actually arrive?
It arrives at the ultimate awakening. The climax of this entire analytical process is given in the Bhagavad Gita, Bahunya Janmanam Antechanavan Maya Prapadyate.
Meaning?
After many, many lifetimes of digging through the dirt, the true gold miner finally drops the mental speculation and arrives at the only logical conclusion. They realize that Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is everything. Vasudeva Sarvamiti.
The tiny particle of light joyfully discovers its true scale? Not by trying to dominate the material machine, and not by trying to falsely claim it as the infinite, but by fully surrendering to the infinite light.
And that surrender is not the destruction of your identity. I think that's where people get scared.
Right, going back to that fear of the void.
Exactly. As we establish with the 12 symptoms, your soul is permanent and distinctly individual. Surrender is simply the atomic drop returning to its natural, joyful relationship with the inexhaustible ocean.
Let's recap the profound map we've explored today. We started by diagnosing the ultimate disease, the knot in the heart.
The ahameti.
Right, the illusion of I and mine that anchors us to a decaying machine. We used Prahlada Maharaja's 12 symptoms to understand our true nature as permanent, self-illuminated, and completely unattached from the elements around us.
Like oil and water.
Exactly. And then we applied the expert geologist's logic, using that radical cognitive override of meti, not this, to actively sift our eternal consciousness from our everyday material anxiety.
And finally, we looked upward to the greater knower.
Yes, using the historical fortress of the Upanishads to recognize our true position, an atomic drop of spirit supported by an infinite, inexhaustible whole.
It is a framework that completely shifts how you operate within the world.
It changes everything.
It really does. I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over as you navigate your day.
Oh, please do.
If your true identity is an inexhaustible, self-illuminated spark of the divine, and this entire physical world, with all its overwhelming stresses, social demands, and conflicts, is merely a temporary machine animated by your presence, then ask yourself, what power does your greatest fear actually hold over you today? Are you letting the temporary dirt of the machine dictate the happiness of the eternal gold?
Such a vital question to keep front and center. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the architecture of reality. Stay curious, keep practicing that active filtering, and never forget you are not the machine and the greater knower is always with you. See you next time.